So this is a case we chose because it will highlight how difficult it is to manage, just like Dr. Jonas said, to manage cases of sepsis here, and also opportunities that we missed looking back when we're looking after this case. So I'll go straight to the case. So that's the summary of the case. I participated in looking after the patient twice. So we admitted the patient almost on Christmas Day at emergency, then the patient went to the nephrology ward, and then we admitted the patient at the second time. So the first time was on 23rd December. So the first time we saw the patient was on 26th December. And then the next time we saw the patient was on 2nd January. That was at the Kirudu Hospital. But you can tell the patient been to different hospitals before coming to the hospital. So this was a 34-year-old female from Tongo, Arisoka. She was a shop attendant, and just like you can tell, she's a very young patient who is supposed to be a health patient. She had been to S4. So we see her on the 26th of December, and then she was a referral from Kawempe Hospital, which is the maternal hospital in Kampala. And the reason she was referred because they wanted a renal physician to review her. And the reason why she was referred was because she had reduced urine output and she was confused. Ideally, we would expect a renal physician to be called to Kawempe, but because of logistical issues, sometimes some patients are referred for the review. So just a brief background, on the 23rd of December, she had an emergency C-section in Naguru Hospital. Naguru Hospital is another hospital in Kampala. Due to malpresentation of twins, and then she was actively in labor. She had been attending antenatal care in the same hospital, and she was scheduled for an elective C-section in the first week of January. So that was a week in front. But then she went into labor, and then they had to perform an emergency C-section. So out of concern for refractory hypertension, that was postpartum. Secondary to PPH, an explorer laparotomy was done, and she was found to have a massive hemorrhage. So this was on second loop laparotomy. So she had an emergency section, she went to hypertension, they did a second loop laparotomy, and they found she had 2 liters of blood in her peritoneum. So a bleeding vessel was identified in the anterior uterine wall, and it was ligated, and then a drain was left in situ. According to the note we saw that was from Naguru Hospital, she had been resuscitated with whole blood, but they didn't put a number of units they had given her. IV fluids. We also noted she had received IV furosemide to 40 milligrams, which is a very big dose. I think someone wanted her to make urine. IV ceftriaxone and IV tramadol. So notably from Naguru Hospital, she had passed around 150 ml of urine in about 10 hours. And then that's when she was referred to Kawempe because they noticed she wasn't making enough urine. So now we get her from Kawempe Hospital. So the working diagnosis on referral to Kawempe Hospital was renal, aka secondary PPH. So on 24th December 2018, she was at Kawempe. That was the eve of Christmas when most of us had traveled the country to have Christmas with her loved ones. So far, she was in hospital. So she was admitted at Kawempe, fully conscious, sweating profusely. That was a note we wrote on the referral. And they noted that she was complaining of general body weakness and pain at the incision site. Clinically, her BP was 126.66 milliliters of mercury. They did not know whether it was supine or she was seated up, but that is what they put on the referral note. Her pulse she was tachycardic at 120 beats per minute. She had a respiratory rate of 21, and she was saturating at 98 on room air. Notably, she was in a vaginal condition. She had periorbital edema. She was febrile. She had moderate pallor. She was severely hydrated. She had a tinge of jaundice, and notably, they said she had a thin volume pulse. So they noticed she was fully conscious, she didn't have any focal deficits, and her respiratory system exam was normal. Abdomen significantly, she had a tender abdomen, there was no guarding. She had a drain in situ that had drained 30 ml of blood in the bag that was connected to the drain. But the dressing was clean and her uterus was well contracted at 24 weeks. At Kawempe, so this is the Kawempe note we saw when she came to hospital, when she came to Kirudu Hospital. She had been resuscitated with IV fluids, 3 liters per 24 hours. She had been transferred 2 liters of whole blood. She didn't have a lab in the labs, and they had clearly noted that this was because of financial constraints. So on day 2 while at Kawempe, she developed mental confusion, and that's when they decided to refer her to Kirudu because they thought she needed renal consultation then. So this was the first time we see her at Kirudu at emergency. So this was so the ambulance brought her with the nurse, and the nurse had to go back to Kawempe. So all we had was referral note and the sister who had escorted her to hospital. So the sister's concern was, despite plenty of oral fluids, that is water and a lot of juices, like advised by the previous doctor at Naguru Hospital, she wasn't making a lot of urine. And the sister also noted that she had a yellow discharge on the incision dressing for the past 2 days. She didn't have a fever. So generally, she was weaker than when she was first admitted at Kawempe Hospital. The sister also noted that she had episodes of on and off uncoordinated speech. That was for a day prior to coming to Kirudu Hospital. That was the day when she was in Kawempe Hospital. She didn't have any seizures and she didn't have any other bleeding apart from the one she had put in Naguru Hospital postpartum. So when we reviewed her admission, she was passing about so the sister reported she had been passing about 2 motions of semi-formed stool per day, but the stool was normal color. She had a poor appetite to solid feeds and she was complaining of mild generalized abdominal pain, mostly marked at the incision one side. She didn't have any significant complaints in the respiratory system and severs. So in the past medical history, very importantly, wanted to make sure she was a healthy woman prior to the emergency C-section she had at Naguru Hospital. So she wasn't hypertensive before, she didn't have any associated pregnancy, associated hypertension, she wasn't diabetic, she didn't have any history of kidney disease, and no history of bleeding disorders that could have made her maybe get PPH. So currently when she was referred to Kirudu, she had been on IV metronidazole or IV tramadol. She had been given nifedipine and methadone, and initially it didn't make a lot of sense. But we noted this had been started with the Dove referral because her BP had risen to 160 out of 85. The IV ceftriaxone she was on initially when she was referred from Naguru to Kawempe had been held because they didn't have an RFT panel. I think they felt uncomfortable giving her the ceftriaxone. She didn't have any past surgical history that was remarkable. So by the time we saw her, she was a para 3+0. Her antenatal care was not complicated, at least from what we could get from the system, from her records. She was using OCPs for contraception. So family social history, there wasn't any history of any known bleeding disorders in the family. She owned a grocery shop and she was a practicing Anglican. The husband worked for the electricity company that supplies electricity in the country. She had never taken alcohol, she had never smoked, or she had also never taken any illicit drugs. So the family was aware that her kidneys were damaged, at least from the first doctor who had referred them from Naguru to Kawempe. And the sister was also aware that this could have been caused by the bleeding she initially suffered when they had done an emergency C-section on her. The sister was also aware that her condition had markedly worsened compared to the first time she was referred from Naguru to Kawempe and then Kirudu Hospital. The concern of the sister was the first doctor who attended to her in Naguru said she might need a machine to help with her kidney. But the time she spent at Kawempe and then at the emergency at Kirudu, no one had discussed the topic of putting on a machine for renal support. The expectation of the sister was to get the patient better and look after her twin babies. Notably, she had a twin pregnancy. So all of us want to have twins. So she was a lucky woman. So in summary, she was a previously well 34-year-old female. By that time, she was a para 3+0, referred from Kawempe Hospital with reduced urine output, confusion following severe PPH that was managed by second loop laparotomy and the uterine vessel ligating. So at that point, what our line of thought was probably she had pre-renal AKI, secondary to PPH. She had initially gotten post C-section, and we thought she was uremic given the confusion. We also thought she could be hyperkalemic from the general body weaknesses the sister had reported. The other thing is so we had an exam in her then, but from the note at Kawempe, they had repeatedly said she had a tinge of jaundice. So we thought that could also be because of ischemic hepatitis, just like we get pre-renal AKI, you can also get ischemic hepatitis from prolonged hypertension. So we thought she could be encephalopathic, and that could be contributing to her confusion. The other thing was the sepsis, given that by the time she came, the sister was noting her incision site had a yellow discharge of the dressing. ATN, acute tubular necrosis, probably because of the prolonged shock she had prior to going to Kawempe Hospital and maybe sepsis setting in. In our setting, it is very important. Personally, I've seen cases, and I'm sure very many people here have seen cases of people who have got laparotomies and they're not making urine, only to find someone cut their ureters. So that was one of the differentials. We thought maybe someone could have damaged her ureters or her bladder. So on exam, significantly, she had a BP of 160/90, and her seated BP was, so supine was 160/90. And she had 153/85 when she was seated, so she didn't have postural hypertension. She was tachycardic at 113 beats per minute, and she was also in respiratory distress with the respiratory rate of 33 beats per minute. She was saturating at 95 on room air. We didn't do her weight. Reason? So generally, she had a urine catheter in situ that had yellow urine, but then it had around 200 mils. And the sister was categorical. She said they hadn't drained her urine back for the past about 12 hours. So roughly, she was making about less than 20 or 15 mils per hour at her weight at 34. So she was very ill. She was febrile. She had moderate pallor. Significantly, she had a change of jaundice, and she was convulsive, but she had episodes of going off. So she had this incoordinated speech. She didn't have any evidence of subcutaneous bleeding and her extremities were warm. Most of the significant findings were in the abdominal and CNS exam. So we noticed she had a phanestoid incision, but she also had a midline incision. I think the midline incision was for the second loop laparotomy. But notably, the lateral right side of the dressing had a yellow discharge. And also her drain was in situ, and there was hemolyzed blood in the attached bag that was on the drain, about 50 mils. She had generalized mild tenderness, which may not be so shocking for someone who is post-operative. And it was most prominent over the incision wounds, but she didn't have any bleeding. She had a hepatomegaly of a liver span of 14 centimeters, which is slightly enlarged from 12 centimeters. And her uterus was well contracted at 24 or 40. Their findings were. CNS, the only significant finding was the confusion that put on GCS 14 out of 15. But otherwise, she didn't have a flap, and all the other findings were known. Cardiovascular system, she was tachycardic, and she had a gallop breathing, but the other findings were known. And she didn't have a pericardial rub, which is significant, especially if you think about uremic pericarditis. So at that point, our final diagnosis was acute kidney injury secondary to the PPH, and we thought she was uremic, given the confusion that we noted, or objectively noted on physical exam. We also still thought, much as we didn't have labs at that time, she was hyperkalemic. The fact that she was hyperventilating with a very clear chest, we thought she could have acidosis, so we didn't have ABGs by the time. The other thing on top of the pre-renal AKI, we thought she could also possibly have superimposed acute tubular necrosis from maybe the prolonged hypertension, and also given she had this pre-renal discharge on her dressing. So sepsis can also augment pre-existent renal AKI. So ischemic hepatitis, because she had a tinge of jaundice, and also the confusion could fit into that picture. The other thing, we could also not rule out surgical damage to the ureter, as much as she was making some urine or the blood. So I'm very sure everyone here is asking, how could she have moved from Naguru to Kawempe without any lab panel? And people are thinking she's in AKI. But if you've been to all these hospitals, you can note that sometimes it's very challenging, especially if someone cannot afford to do it. You might have all these differentials, but pinpointing one because of you don't have labs can be very difficult. So these are labs she actually got when she was moving into hospital. So the day she was referred from Kawempe is the day she did these labs. And her creatinine was 5.85 milligrams per day, which is markedly raised. Her BUN creatinine ratio was 7.6. That fitted in a picture of intrarenal AKI. And that's when we started thinking maybe she had ATN on top of what she had initially, the initial insult she had initially. She had a potassium of 8. So we also took this with a picture of someone can have a potassium of 8 and they're still alive, but we also wanted to repeat the potassium at that point. We didn't have any EKG to tally the potassium and maybe have findings, but she had a potassium of 8.1. Her sodium was lower. 133 is close to 135, so it's not that significant. The notation was HIV seronegative. We also wanted to do her Hep B and Hep C plus a past swab of the discharge she had and run a culture. Her LFT panel also fitted the picture of ischemic hepatitis so well. So one of the conditions they can give you, transaminase is above 1,000, acetaminophen poison and ischemic hepatitis. And you can note that highest was 2,099 and our ALT was 709. So the picture was telling me what we thought initially. So sonography done, this was done at Kawempe Hospital. It didn't show any hydroureters, or in case someone had tied off her ureters or something like that. Excuse me. But they noted she had a hepatomegaly and she didn't have any intra-abdominal fluid collections. In her urinalysis, what was most significant was on her sediment, and this was done at emergency when she came in. We noticed she had muddy brown cast, which was also tying with the picture of ATN. And at that point, we thought maybe it was a prolonged hypertension that had given her. So at emergency, what we gave her was 5 minutes, so I should be done. So we gave her IV calcium gluconate to stabilize her heart, given she had a potassium of 8.3, and D50 plus insulin, try and drive the potassium into the cells. We also considered repeating 2-hourly potassiums on top of the repeat check of the initial potassium we had of 8.13. So they had all these packs of juices because I'm sure the family was trying to rehydrate the patient as much as possible. So we stopped the juices, given she had a potassium of 8, and also nebulizer with salbutamol, gave her Kayexalate. We wrote the Kayexalate, but she didn't get the Kayexalate. And some people think in the emergency setting it might not help so much. We decided to restart her IV ceftriaxone, but at a smaller dose of 1 gram, and give her lactulose. We counseled the family on the need for urgent dialysis. At that point, we thought the patient needed dialysis, period. But they couldn't afford. The antihypertensives at that point, with the spot BP of 160 over 90 that they had noted when she was being referred, we thought we could hold them and maybe monitor her BPs. We were not able to do urine chemistry and all these other blood cultures and pulse-swab cultures. So we admitted her to nephrology ward. So this was at emergency. We see her, she goes to nephrology ward, we'll continue with that business. Then we see her again on 2nd of January. I didn't follow up, so I didn't know what had happened on the nephro ward. So she's seen again at emergency. And also this also shows us gaps in the way we look after patients. Having to move patients in and out of hospitals in Kampala, which is not so good. So when we saw her again, we were able to dig back and know that when she was admitted on the nephrology ward, she couldn't afford dialysis, so all they were doing was palliating her. And while on the nephrology ward, she had developed high-grade fevers, the discharge increased from the incision wound, she remained on uric, and also the drain she had in situ started draining Frank pass. Repeat sonography showed that she had increased free fluid in her peritoneum, and the team thought it could be PAS. And they thought the surgeons would look at her again. So they transferred her back to Kawempe Hospital. So at Kawempe, I think the team repeated the sonography there, and they found that she had small localized peritonitis in the right area fossa. And they also advised, I think the people who saw her thought they could be conservative. I wasn't there, but I'm very sure they were very uncomfortable doing more surgical procedures on her. So she needed dialysis. That was very many days ago, and now she's showing up at their place again. So while there, they noted that her GCS fell from 10/15 fell to 10/15. Initially, she was about 14 when she left Kirudu. So they decided to start on IV meropenem and vancomycin that was renally adjusted. And then they decided to transfer her back to Kirudu. And that's somehow we felt so uncomfortable because at this time you could tell she is a dying patient. So we didn't see the rationale of bringing her back to Kirudu if she wasn't going for dialysis or ICU care. And maybe the other thing we need to notice, the first time we saw her, we tried getting her ICU space, but Dr. Jane will tell you sometimes it's very hard getting ICU space, especially with the surgical patients, neuro patients who usually occupy most of the beds. So I'm not able to get for her ICU space. So the day we see her again at Kirudu is when she passed on. So she's a 34-year-old, new mother of twins, so it was very unfortunate. And we thought the final diagnosis was perennial AKI with superimposed ATN, uremia, ischemic hepatitis, and sepsis. Okay? It's a very sad story. At 34, someone shouldn't be dying from normal normal labor, but it happened. And we are going to see the challenges that we face looking after these patients in our setting. We don't have a lot of ICU care. And also the other gap we found is the first time she was seen, the initial lasix she got with him wasn't called for. And we think all those were gaps in management. Thank you very much.